So when I get bored, I try to teach GPT how to think conceptually. All right, if you saw my last couple of videos, I was talking about third wave AI and essentially replacing millions of lines of training data with conceptual models. If you missed those, I'll give you the brief cliff notes. Imagine you have an image generating AI, rather than feeding it a million pictures of tables so that it could create a table for you, which is inevitably going to be pieces of each of those trained tables, therefore kind of stealing pixels from other people's pictures of tables. What if you could teach it what a table is, and then it could conceptualize its own version of a million different tables? Anyway, that obviously requires a completely new architecture. However, I decided it'd be fun to try and teach GPT-4 in ChatGPT how to think conceptually. Let's see how it went. So first I told it I was going to introduce it to conceptual thinking through conceptual models, and it right off told me that it is limited by its training architecture, but it would love to have the conversation with me. So then I invented this thing called a snorf. A snorf is my invention. It does not exist in any training data of GPT-4. I invented it on the fly. I created it out of 3 conceptual models. 1, which describes the head of the snorf. 2, which describes the body of the snorf. And then the third is them combined to create a thing called a snorf. According to GPT-4, it understood that I just taught it this concept of a thing called a snorf. Then I asked it for an image prompt. So here's the thing. On the one hand, it gave me a unique looking snorf because I asked it for a random snorf image. However, it rigidly adhered to the only physical properties that I mentioned in the concepts. I said that the components could be any color, any size, or any material, and those were the only physical properties that GPT changed. So while it seemed to understand the concept snorf, it still very rigidly adhered to the exact language that I used. So does that mean it did understand it? I'm not sure. Either way, I put the image prompts in various image generators. Let's see what happened. So in case you didn't read the screens, a snorf is basically a giant needle with a dull end and the loop where the thread goes through, and inside that loop is an infinity symbol. This is what the first image prompt created. I was using a public model on StableDiffusionAPI.com, and it appears that the model, still very rigidly adhering to its training set, just simply couldn't understand what a snorf is, which actually was kind of cool. That means that GPT was able to create something that this model did not understand. Here I used a different model, and you can see it doesn't look anything like the way I described a snorf, but it is obviously trying. And here's another one. You can see here it's trying to do something infinity-like. Here was another attempt at interpreting the image prompt. And then this was Midjourney's attempt, and it got the infinity part right, but it did not actually get the essence of the image. So what I think we learned here is that GPT-4 is really advanced, and it can almost seem to understand concepts to the point where it can create instructions that depict those concepts that other language models cannot understand. But I don't think it really understands concepts. And this is seen because it has no creativity in adding any other physical properties outside of the ones that I defined. However, this whole conceptual model thinking might be a really cool prompt framework. Anyway, it was a fun experiment either way.